guys, it's Julie Spencer, author of the Buxton Peak series. We're working our way through Buxton Peak, the early years, and I hope that if you're liking these videos, you give them a thumbs up and share on social media and subscribe to my channel. We are getting into chapter 19, and then we'll get started. Buxton Peak, the early years, chapter 19, Good Morning. That was an incredible show last night, guys. Ian's scratchy voice peeked out from under the blankets. We rocked the house. He fluffed up a pillow on the queen-size bed and rolled onto his back. Even though the drapes in the hotel room blocked out most of the morning sun, he wasn't ready to open his eyes. You, in particular, rocked the house, Ian. Kai rolled over and draped his arm across Ian. You are truly back at the top of your game. Your breath smells like stale beer. Get off me. Ian cringed and tried to push him away, but Kai pulled Ian closer and sighed. Remind me why our staff pays for us to have a presidential suite, yet we all cram into one hotel room. Because you'd miss my snoring if I slept somewhere else, Gary said. There was no movement from his bed, just a groggy voice poking out from under the mound of comforters. You don't snore, Andy's comment came from somewhere under there too. You did fart once a couple hours ago and it was disgusting. I don't remember that, Gary mumbled. I do, Ian and Andy said at the same time. Andy stretched and kicked part of the covers off one foot. He sat up, grabbed a half-empty water bottle, and downed it in one long swig. I need aspirin, Andy groaned. You need to not drink so much. Ian rolled onto his side and propped himself up on one arm. I've never once woken up with a headache. That's because you're perfect, Ian. Andy's sarcasm hung in the air as he rolled off the bed, clunked to the floor, and dragged himself over by his luggage. He rummaged through his overnight bag until he found a bottle of pills, clicked open the top, and downed a few with a swig of something Ian couldn't see from his angle, but he doubted was water. Ian's suspicion was confirmed when Andy pulled himself up, using the chair as leverage, and staggered over to the mini-fridge. He opened the door and grabbed a water bottle, uncapped it, and greedily drank half the bottle. Toss me one of those, Gary mumbled from under the blankets. Me too, Kai said. Might as well get one for Ian also. Always looking out for me, aren't you? Ian caught the water bottle Andy threw at him and propped himself into a sitting position, fluffing two pillows behind his back. Gotta keep our teen idol well hydrated so you can turn on all the girls again tomorrow night. Andy flopped himself onto his bed again. What are you talking about? I don't turn people on. Yeah, you do, Kai mumbled from somewhere under the blankets. You're like sex personified, Gary said, wiggling his eyebrows. He cocked his head to the side. Which is weird because, you don't have sex. Maybe that's the secret, Andy suggested. He's not wasting his energy on things that don't matter. He's putting his whole self into the music. That and he's just incredibly talented, Kai said. What can I do to change that? Ian asked, panic crushing his chest. I need to fix that image. What? Gary gasped. He propped himself up on his elbow. No, you can't change that, mate. Andy sat up on the edge of the bed. Don't you dare try to change, Kai said, reaching for Ian's elbow and shaking him insistently. You are exactly the way you're supposed to be. I don't want to be known for that. Ian's throat clenched. I want to be seen for the man I am on the inside, not be seen as a sex object. I want to put my missionary tag back on and be known as the man who commits his whole self to God. Trust me, people see your good side, pal. They do. Kai sat all the way up and pleaded with his eyes. You have this aura around you that is unmistakable. But Buxton Peak needs you just the way you are. Don't change a thing. Ian took a swig of his water bottle, trying to formulate a response. But Kai continued. Missionaries only serve for 2 years, right? Kai leaned forward, trying to get Ian to look him in the eye. Then they go back to regular jobs, regular life. This is your job. This is who you are. Don't change who you are just because everybody thinks you're incredibly sexy. Especially Kai, Gary pointed out. They'd all grown tired of Gary's jokes about Ian and Kai's relationship and just ignored him. Just do what you always do when you go on stage, Andy said. I'm not even sure you consciously think about it. You just perform. It's incredible. Plus, when I said you were sexy, I didn't mean just on stage, Gary said. It's everything about you. Your eyes, your hair, your charisma, those jeans you always wear. Who's in love with Ian now? Kai leaned back and propped himself on several pillows, downing the rest of his water bottle. You know what I mean, Gary said. You're just the total package. You're Ian Taylor, dude. Seriously. Now you guys are just making me blush, Ian said, fiddling with the cap on his bottle. Embrace your beauty, Ian. Andy climbed back under the covers and collapsed again. We should probably get ourselves cleaned up a bit and get on the road. Ian swung his legs off the bed. Who's first for the shower? Gary smells like weed. Make him go first, Kai said. Yeah, what's up with that, Gary? Ian threw a pillow across the room at him. You got stoned right before going on stage. That ain't cool, pal. It helps me relax and let loose on the drums. Gary grabbed the pillow Ian threw at him and patted the stack he was already lying on. What was your excuse for smoking it after the show? Andy asked, poking his head out of the blankets. What was your excuse, Andy? Gary raised his eyebrows in challenge. You were smoking too, Andy? Well, Ian's voice rose at the end. Why, mates? It's no big deal, pal. In some parts of the world it's even legal. Gary didn't seem fazed. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's okay. Ian shook his head. Let me remind you that we all have our own free agency, Kai said, raising his eyebrows, using Ian's own religious principles against him. You're being judgmental again. I'm not being judgmental. Ian pouted and creased his forehead. I'm just being a concerned brother. We won't let it get out of hand, mate. I promise. Gary blinked his innocent eyelashes several times. I wish you wouldn't do it at all. Ian grumbled and rose from the bed. I'm getting in the shower. Knock, knock. Jeremy peeked his head in the hotel room, sneaking in through the adjoining parlor suite. Everybody dressed? You have company, lover boy. Kai and Ian both looked up, and Jeremy laughed. Ian was at the mirror, weaving hair gel into his hair, which was starting to grow out from its cropped missionary haircut. Kai was still half-dressed, propped up on the bed with an acoustic guitar in his lap. Andy had fallen back to sleep, and Gary had just turned off the shower. Ian, your girlfriend wants to say goodbye. Jeremy stepped out of the way, and Sasha hesitantly entered the room, but stopped near the door. Sasha, hi. Ian wiped the gel off his hands with a towel and crossed the room to pull her into his arms for a brief hug. Well, good morning, Blondie, Kai said with a smirk. Don't call her that. Ian smacked Kai's foot, which was sticking out from under the sheets. Actually, it's afternoon. Sasha put her hand against Ian's chest. And I've been called worse. You are quite blonde. Ian tugged at one of her long curls. Then he leaned over and kissed her on the cheek. You too. What'd you do, get highlights? She started to reach up and touch his hair, but realized it was still wet with gel, and pulled her hand back, wrinkling her nose and wiping her hands on her jeans. I don't know. The stylists work their magic and I come out looking like this. Ian turned back to the mirror and evaluated his reflection with approval. I look hot, don't you think? I like it, Sasha said. Much better than that dyed crew cut you wore when I first met you. Gary walked out of the bathroom wearing only a towel around his waist and stopped short when he saw a girl in the room. He didn't bother covering up and didn't seem embarrassed at all. He almost seemed to roll his shoulders back, letting his pectoral muscles flex. Ian almost laughed out loud. Hey, Sasha, Ian said. Why don't we step outside and let these guys have a few minutes to get dressed? I can't really stay anyway, Sasha said. My parents and brother are waiting. We've already checked out of our hotel room. It was nice to meet all of you. Good luck on your tour. Bye, Sasha, Gary said, wiggling his fingers in a nice, playful wave. Nice to meet you, Andy mumbled from somewhere under the mound of blankets. See ya, Sasha, Kai said, winking at her and raising his eyebrows suggestively. Ian scoffed at his mates and pushed Sasha gently but insistently out the door of the hotel room. Sorry about that, Ian grumbled. They can be a little much. Yeah, but they're smoking hot, so they get away with it. Sasha grinned at Ian and bit her lower lip. You know it, baby, Kai called from inside the hotel room. Ian slammed the door shut with his foot, shaking his head. I like your mates, Sasha said with a coy smile, but I'm glad to have a moment alone with you. Ahem. Jeremy cleared his throat from his position on the sofa by the sliding glass doors. "Let's talk in the hallway, shall we?" Ian pulled her toward the door. "Don't leave without me," Jeremy called after her. "You might be questioned by security walking around up here alone." "I won't," Sasha called back as the door closed behind them. "In a suite this big, you'd think a guy could get a little privacy with his girlfriend. Are you my girlfriend?" Ian cocked his head to the side with a flirtatious grin. "Do you want me to be your girlfriend?" Sasha stepped closer and laced her fingers through Ian's, batting her eyelashes. "Kinda." "Gee, don't sound so excited," Sasha teased. "Well, I'm leaving today and I'm going to be gone for months at a time. I don't want you to feel as if you can't date or meet someone else." "Let's just play it cool for now," Sasha suggested. "We could talk on the phone, text back and forth. I'll Facebook stalk you and follow you on every move on social media. And when you come home, we'll see what happens." "Even when I'm home, it's only for short periods of time, though." Ian grabbed two of her belt loops and pulled her closer. "My lifestyle is not exactly ideal for someday getting married and starting a family." "Whoa, who said anything about getting married?" Sasha asked, pulling away. "Don't you think it's a little soon to be talking about that?" "I'm just saying." "We just came home from our missions," Sasha reminded him. "Let's give life a chance to catch up before we start talking about getting serious." Ian creased his forehead and something clicked in the back of his mind. He always imagined falling in love to be quick and powerful, as if he'd know his eternal companion from across the room or something cheesy like that. If he wasn't feeling that way about Sasha, and she wasn't feeling that way about him, maybe they weren't meant to be. Still, it would be fun to have a long-distance relationship, even if it wasn't for forever. "Tell you what," Ian said, forcing lightness back into his demeanor. "When I send out tweets, I'll try to include subtle hints that I'm directing them toward you. Then, when you reply, you can respond in a way that implies you understood my message." "What a great way to flirt a little and get to know each other better." Sasha allowed herself to fall closer to him, relaxing because he was no longer talking about serious topics. A few doors down, a guy came out of the hotel room and raised his eyebrows at them. "It's not the way it looks, Tom." Ian pushed Sasha away so she was no longer leaning against him. "It's none of my business, Ian." He clucked his tongue and shook his head, starting to walk away. "Who's he?" Sasha chuckled, stepping closer to Ian again. "One of our producers, I think. I can't keep track of who does what anymore." His eyebrows creased. "I'm so sorry. This is wrong. I shouldn't have you up here in my hotel room. It's going to destroy your reputation." "More like your reputation," Sasha said. "They don't even know me." "Either way, it's not a good idea." "I need to get going anyway. My parents are waiting." They looked into each other's eyes, and Ian took a deep breath. "Mind if I kiss you once to say goodbye?" "I was hoping you would." His eyes held hers, searching for something he wasn't sure was there. He leaned down and she raised her heels to meet him halfway. It was a gentle kiss, not wildly passionate like Janie used to attempt, but just a sweet kiss. They pulled away and sighed, staring into each other's eyes again. "Bye, Ian." "Bye, Sasha," Ian replied. "Watch for my tweets." "I will." Ian knocked on the locked door to the suite. Within seconds, Jeremy had the door open and traded places with Ian. As Jeremy led Sasha away, she turned back and winked at Ian. He winked back and felt at peace. All right, that is the end of chapter 19. I hope that you're liking these videos, and that if you do, that you'll give them a thumbs up and share them on social media so others can find them too. And subscribe to my channel so you'll know when the next videos are out. All right, next time we will read chapter 20, which is called Not So Good Morning.